Hi, my name is Peter Chappell. In these videos, I'm going to talk about the treatment of chronic diseases with a focus on cancer and using the source resonances. And source resonances are found on sourcemedicine.zone. And how to approach chronic diseases using source resonances. That's the main focus of this set of videos. And it's aimed at mainly at practitioners, but it could be used by patients or clients who want to use resonances, because they could use some of the things themselves, and some of the resonances are, but when it comes to treating chronic diseases, it's quite a high level of skill. So it's introductory, and it's also going through what I've experienced and found out to be the best way of using source resonances as a standalone system. Having said that, it can also be used, source resonances can definitely be used as supplements or complements to existing systems of therapy, whether it's acupuncture or psychotherapy or any system of healing. So that's the first point. So just like to introduce myself. Where I was for, well, I started off life as a missile engineer, actually, and working in a research lab. And by the age of 25, I had 3 US patents to my name, which is a fair amount of achievement, I think. And it wasn't because I was really bright, but it's because I was creative and intuitive and had a sense of how you did things that other people didn't seem to know how to do so easily. So, and then I spent most of my career as a homeopath. And by the age of 60, I'd finished running a regular practice, which I'd done for 30 years. And I taught homeopathy in maybe 20 countries, where it didn't exist. And I enjoyed setting up homeopathic professions and starting the training programs and setting up teams of people to teach people locally, things like that. So by the age of 60, I thought I'd finished my life. I could have sort of wrapped it up and said, well, time to wrap up now and take your life easy. But then I had a hug from Amma, and the consequences, she's the hugging guru, and when Amma gives you a hug, she also murmurs a mantra in your ear. And what happened was that I got the urge, I got the message, I sat down near her and listened, to go to Africa and work on AIDS, which was something was so far from my consciousness that I wasn't even thinking about it. But I think what the mantra does is releases your hidden potential. And this was a total turning point in my life at the age of 60. And I ended up going to Africa to work on AIDS without really knowing very much about AIDS, except that all the alternative approaches were not very effective and that the drugs were not getting through to Africa because they were too expensive. So people were dying by the millions, and yes, so that's where I come from. I became quite an expert on treating epidemic diseases in Africa, and we have huge success in treating epidemic diseases in that I first started with HIV, and then with malaria and TB and gonorrhea and leprosy and polio and any other disease that they had in Africa. And and I learned how to treat diseases and to get remarkable results. And we have treated in that time hundreds of thousands of people for epidemic diseases. And as it turned out, this also moved into treating trauma, which are not quite epidemic diseases of the body, but they are epidemic diseases of the mind. So war, for example, is an epidemic disease of the mind. When lots of people get angry with each other and have enough spare time, they can go to war and kill each other. It's a normal habit in the human race. Genocide's another one. So I learned to treat trauma, rape, war, genocide, and things like that with single resonances. And these were also highly effective. So then we had the inkling of a complete system, or a more complete system of medicine. And it was highly effective. I mean, people got better from HIV in weeks, and malaria likewise, and became immune to it as far as we could see. And anyway, there's a lot of other information elsewhere on this. I'm just saying where I've come from. And then I started treating chronic diseases in Africa, like epilepsy, high blood pressure, diabetes, and such like. And the results, again, were remarkable. And these are epidemic diseases with a genetic content, if you see what I mean. The epigenic is not epidemic in this generation, but there is something going on which passes down from generation to generation, which predisposes people towards high blood pressure, diabetes, etc. And for example, with epilepsy, children would have grand mals every day, which is a major epileptic fit every day, for the whole of their lives. And then we treat them with epilepsy, and they go down to having a little fit every week, once a week, which was a huge difference and made them mad. It meant that the parent, who would be permanently 24 hours monitoring this person, no longer needed to do so and could get on with their life, and the child could live and start doing normal things. It was a tremendous improvement. So we began to see that this system that I was involved in creating back in Ethiopia in 2001 was highly effective across the spectrum of infectious diseases and the early stages of chronic and semi-chronic diseases. So that's the first place I'm coming from.